What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the lab with another quest build. We are finally out here on NBA 2K23 Next Gen, and you know me, Quest Sparrow, had to jump in the builder and cook y'all up something uber rare that can dominate out the gate, off rip, on God swear, left side curtains. This thing that I cooked up right here is a vintage classic power forward, you know, a la the late 90s, early to mid 2000s, the golden era of real hoops, when you would run into a power forward that could do everything. There was a focal point of the offense and a defensive juggernaut on the other side. The builder this year is absolutely plantain. It is super complex, and every build basically has some type of deficiency. Just like in real life, there are no real demigods. Even the best of the best players have deficiencies in their game. And this build right here only has really one deficiency with its play style, and that's the three ball. But other than shooting threes, which is actually not going to make you be a cone, it's going to make you have to, you know, work around inside the arc and contribute in other ways. This build right here is going to absolutely dominate. It has shades, in my opinion, of Chris Webber, Jermaine O'Neal, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, and Giannis. If they all sat down and met at a bar, this would be their bartender. This right here is the first ever two-way diming Middy specialist. I haven't seen anyone make this video on YouTube, so I had to get it up as soon as I could. I invested. This is my official power forward hatch, so let's jump right in. We'll take you through it. You're gonna make this at power forward. You're gonna make this build here at 6'10". If you go higher than that to 6'11" or taller, it eliminates some of the things you can do on this build. And then weight wise, we're gonna drop this to 243, and then get your wingspan to 7'5". You know I'm gonna go body shape built because I want to be menacing when I'm on the wood. And so here we go, getting into the absolute complexity of the builder this year. First time bringing a video on the channel. I don't want to necessarily go through every little nook and cranny of the badge setups because it's really like a skill tree, you know, like a role-playing game. You can make the exact same build and have completely different badge allocations and have a different playstyle on the build. The attributes are one thing, but the badges are really going to be crucial this year in how you want to play in the city, in the rec. So we're going to go with the 76 close shot, and that's, you know, that's going to be a badge thresh. A lot of these are badge thresh to actually get maximize and ooze the potential of this build. Your driving layup is going to be a 75. Your driving dunk is going to be a 76, and then your standing dunk, get that to a 73. And we're going to get our post control to an 82. So interior, that's going to give you 21 total badges. Let's expand this for this first video that I'm doing. You know, let's look at the badges that you can get. Break this down a little bit. Depending on what you want, you can do your core badge, anything. I actually like maybe putting post spin technician off rip as your core badge on Olive, because you'll always have that in your arsenal to go to, and you don't have to allocate the 4 badge attributes somewhere. You can do that somewhere else. But ultimately, you're not going to be an uber, you know, yam monster down low. This is more like that Chris Webber, Tim Duncan in the finishing aspect. You can probably make something freakier with a different type of build. But since you can't do everything on this game this year, you really got to pick and choose what you want to do and where you want your deficiencies. We're definitely going to be able to finish, and you're going to get to those tier 3 badges, but ultimately it's going to be so much more monstrosity in other areas of the build. So going on to shooting, we're going to get our Middy to an 85, and that's going to give that badge thresh. We're going to keep our 3-ball at 40. So again, if you're looking to play on a build that you're not looking to stretch the floor, you don't want to be a cone that just stands there waiting for the pill, this build is going to be able to operate inside the arc and be an absolute force. We are going to get our free throw to a 71 as well, because, you know, this is a rec build. I play rec, and I don't want to punt that. You want to be able to go to the line, knock down shots. And so, you know, you're only going to get 13 shooting badges on this build, but with the 85 Middy, you are an elite shooter, and it can definitely hit, you know, with some of these tier 1 badges. You can get Middy Magician and pocket that for your core badge. Off rip, get that Olive. You can really create space and guard up. I really like this badge this year. If you want to go to an 86 Middy, you can get that on Olive. And then you do have the tier 3 blinders, but it's just so expensive, you're not actually even going to get there. You can't get it on gold. and you can't get it on bronze either because that allocates 5. You need 10 to even get to tier 3. But again, you're not really looking to, you can hit the mid-range on this shot, but you're not looking to be an absolute shot creator on this build. But let's go to playmaking. This is where the build actually really shines. Playmaking and defense. Playmaking, you're going to get your pass actually to an 86. If you go lower than that, it actually changes the name to like a mid-range shooter, or a two-way mid-range shooter. If you drop the interior defense, it might be a diming mid-range scorer. That's actually the build that I found initially, but then I tinkered and wanted to get more of a crazy name. And so you have to get this to an 86 in order to get the name. At least that's what happened with me. And then also, as an 86 pass, actually, you're going to be able to dart anybody on the wood. That's a very nice pass level. That was like gold bullets last year. And so you can play that Middy post, that like high post, and just be that kind of floor general for your team. And you see you get floor general on Olive. We'll talk about the core badges in a second. You get your ball handle to a 79, that's the thresh. And then your speed with ball, you're going to keep it at a 49. Not really looking to ISO on this build, but you do get silver quick first because of the post control. And you do get clamp breaker and killer combos, so you can actually handle the pill on this build. You can bring it up the court. You can play in the front court. You're not necessarily ISOing for yourself on this build, but you can make plays for everybody. So this should be a real important focal point of any offense. Again, just like the power forwards of the early 2000s. But if you look at it, again, you can clamp break and killer combo on silver. I really like floor general off rip as your core badge, because then no matter who you play with, they're gonna be elevated because you're on the court with them. But you can also go dimer or post playmaker in your pocket. And I really do like needle threader as a tier 3 badge, because now you can make any pass you want on gold. And you can really prioritize this build like a Tim Duncan. The Spurs used to dump it down to him and let him operate. Same thing with the Kings, with Chris Webber, Timberwolves with KG. That was the guy on their team, and this build can definitely do that as well. And the 79 ball handle being at 6'10", you really do have guard-like ability. And then I know the speed with ball is not super hot, but the physicals are going to be crazy on this build. And so 18 playmaking, that's hot too. Defensively, this build is an absolute force. You're going to get your interior D to a 90. I think the meta this year, we can ultimately see real big men, real freaks of nature down low again. And this build is not going to be a slouch when you do meet those 6'11", 7-foot behemoths. The interior D at 90 is going to be huge. Then your perimeter D, let's get this to a 76. You can try to get this higher and get that challenger badge on silver to a 79, but we wanted to allocate and max out the badges, so we're going to get that to a 76, and then your steelies to a 71. Also, you're going to get your block to an 87, and that's going to give you the silver anchor on tier 3. You're going to get your defense rebounds to an 87 as well, and then your offense rebounds to a 73. So very similar to finishing. It's very well rounded defensively, but it is much more of a juggernaut. This is the focal point of this build. You're going to be a defensive, playmaking 3-level scorer in a sense, but you can offensive rebound, you can block shots. I see a lot of builds really prioritize finishing, and that's fine. Shooting, that's fine. But if you make this build, you're going to be able to counter those with the interior defense of a 90. You're going to be able to block shots, and you do not get cheese chase down now. So you actually have to be in position with a high block rating and interior defense and time the plays correctly to get blocks. This build can definitely do that. And then defensively, it's very satisfying to get a defensive rebound and just jump over the crowd and snatch it. You will get rebound chaser on silver potentially with this build, but 27 defensive badges is anchoring your team, and you can always make an impact on this build with one of the craziest RBC names that I've seen thus far. Physicals, you're going to max out your speed, max out your acceleration. 75 speed and 70 acceleration. That's the Kevin Garnett. That's the athleticism in this build. You're definitely going to not be a slouch. You are not slow by any means. You're freaky. You're twitchy. And your strength is an 86. Get your vertical to a 75 as well. And then we're going to max out the rest on stamina to an 85. You're not punting strength. You're not punting stamina. You are an absolute behemoth on this build. And giving it a once over, You get 21 finishing, 13 shooting, 18 playmaking, and 27 defensive badges. Again, the only thing you're really punting on this is 3-point shot. But until like the last 5 to 10 years, you didn't really need your big men to step out and shoot threes. You can still completely dominate a game without a 3-ball. Just make sure you're inside the arc. And when you're not inside the arc, you can step up and hit that Hall of Fame Middy magician. The stop and pops, little dribble pull-ups, and also with an 86 pass accuracy and Hall of Fame floor general and dimer, you're going to be able to dime up your entire squad. This build is an absolute freak. Let's go to the takeovers. You can get shot creator take, interior D, glass cleaning, and post. Personally, on the build that I created and cooked up, I went advanced post moves and then glass clearing dimes or something. Like, you could do whatever you want, obviously, but right there, if you followed to a T, you are going to end up with the name and shades of Tim Duncan, Giannis, and Evan Mobley, which is a modern day Kevin Garnett. You're going to end up with the name two-way diming Middy specialist. The first ever. I haven't seen it. You roll up in the city with this and people are going to be squinting and being like, what is that? Diming Middy? You get Middy in the name? What? We are just now scratching the surface of getting in the 2K23 builder. Quest Sparrow is going to be in the laboratory tinkering with dials and bringing y'all the rarest and crazy monster hatches for y'all to dominate in the city this year. We're going to start out with this two-way diming Middy specialist. Hope you guys like this video. Let me know down in the comments below. You know what time it is. Quest Sparrow. Street.